Hi, I am Liam White. I'm one of your support zone part-time officers, and I'm here with,
Lali van Jaarsveld.
and we're here to just get a bit of an informal conversation, talking about what the Centre for Wellbeing is, what they stand for, what they do, and to just hear their voice. Because sometimes when we don't know who we're going to for help, it can be hard to have that conversation. So, as you can see, we are at the Centre for Wellbeing, but where actually are we?
Yes, exactly. Well, we're right opposite Millennium House, so if you're on your way to the GP surgery, you would be passing us. So, yeah, quite easy to find. Nice big sign on the outside. So, yeah, pop down and see us.
Really easy to get to. You'd be surprised how many times you walk past it without realising. So, we know where it is, that's great, but what do you guys actually do here at the Centre for Wellbeing?
Good question. So, the Centre for Wellbeing consists of the advice team, which I'm part of, and then we also have a counselling team. So, at the Centre for Wellbeing, this is usually where students come to see a counsellor, although our appointments are still online at the moment. But if someone does want to be seen face to face, it would be here in our building where we've got a room set up that's big enough. The wellbeing advisors are just at the back of the GP surgery at the health centre, where we have our offices. But we often move between the buildings, or in our offices we also see students online. So yeah, it's quite flexible.
Flexible, that's a good word for it.
Yeah.
In terms of, you mentioned there's counselling and advising. Between the two, what are the kind of things that me as a student I could come to talk to you about?
Okay. So I would say the advisors are able to offer kind of general support and advice. And I'll give you a little bit about our background, so that might help to answer the question. So we are 6 people in our team, 6 advisors, and we all have different backgrounds. So we've got 2 social workers, 2 mental health nurses, occupational therapist, and an eating disorder specialist. And between the 6 of us, we have more than 50 years of experience working in the mental health field outside of the university. So we've all been working in the NHS services before we came here. So we have a lot of experience in dealing with a variety of mental health conditions, but I would say we are happy to talk to any student that feel like they could benefit from talking to someone. We are very open, and we like to be transparent when we talk to students. So there's no, we don't work with a label or a diagnosis. It doesn't matter if a student who has a mental health diagnosis come and talk to us or not. We don't diagnose, we don't prescribe. We're mental health practitioners that have a very good understanding of the stress that you can be under when you come to university, and especially if you've already had other challenges in your life. A student that would come and talk to us would just be reminded of how far they've come and how they've got this far. So that would be kind of what a session with an advisor would be about. And also in terms of the difference is duty advisors are available Monday to Friday to speak to 9:30 to 4:30, and that would be someone like myself or one of my colleagues in my team. And that is for students who feel they can't wait for their booked appointment. So if they feel they're in a crisis and they just need to talk to someone now, the duty advisor is available to do that. And for the counsellors, I guess I'll let you talk to Lexi about that.
Brilliant. That's amazing. Thank you very much. One thing you said there that I really like is that you don't deal with labels. You don't need someone to come to you with a diagnosis, or there's no checkbox they have to fill before they can come to you. So just to hone in on that, if they're just going through a hard time, there's no name for it. They've not even that, they've done poorly in an exam. They're just feeling low.
Yeah.
it's right that they can just come talk to you. Easy as that.
Absolutely, Liam. Because the thing is, what we know is that everybody goes through a hard time sometimes, especially at university, and then life also happens. So something at home might happen that worries you, and those kinds of things impact on your concentration and your ability to maybe meet a deadline. So our purpose is to help you make a success of your studies. We want you to leave here with your degree. And sometimes all you need is just that little bit of extra support, someone who says, okay, it's going to be fine, you can do this. So absolutely, we don't want students to leave university without their degree because they got too stressed or they were ill and they didn't know that there was support available. So we believe that every student can achieve what they set out to when they started university, and we're just there to help them along the way.
That's lovely, thank you. Hello again, I'm here with my second guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Lexi Harris. I am the Centre Manager, which does not explain what I do. So I run administration across the whole of the Wellbeing and Welfare Department. Now that's a huge department across the whole university, and every single staff member is there to look after students' mental health and wellbeing. So specifically, I work with the Centre for Wellbeing, Disability and Neurodiversity, peer support, the chaplaincy or the Religious Life and Belief Service, and our wardens. But I'm here to talk to you today mainly about the Centre for Wellbeing.
Brilliant, and thank you for agreeing to take part. So I've just got one question for you, and it's really easy. Not at all. When you approach a service, it can kind of sometimes be intimidating to not know what that process looks like, right? If you don't know what conversations you're going to have, what the process is, it can sort of be a barrier to coming in and talking to you guys. So, from a counsellor's perspective, would you mind telling me a little bit more about what those sessions look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually had a chat with the counsellors earlier today because we knew you were coming to visit, and I got some really good feedback about what happens in a counselling appointment. So the first thing to know is that every counselling appointment is different. So the counselling appointments are completely shaped by what you guys want. So to start with, when you first get in, so the appointments are online at the moment using Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
So the counsellor will send you a link to join. You'll join the link at the time of your appointment, and hopefully your counsellor will be there with their video on and you'll see their lovely smiley face. They'll introduce themselves to you and they'll explain a bit about how Microsoft Teams works. They'll explain about, safeguarding, about data sharing, just setting the ground rules for your appointment so you know exactly what's going to happen. And they'll introduce the appointment as well. So they'll start with a very difficult question. What do you want from this appointment? Which can be a lot. But if the answer is I don't know, then that's fine. The answer is I don't know. They'll ask, why have you come to counselling? What challenges are you facing? What exactly do you want to feel like when you leave counselling? What is the aims? So that will really help to shape the appointment and where you go from there. All of the counsellors have different backgrounds, different techniques. They're all accredited and they're all trained and official. But they'll completely kind of tailor it to what you as the client wants from your appointment. For example, they might work with you doing techniques about how to manage anxiety, techniques about breathing, to talk about bereavement, to talk about depression. But the main thing to note is that they will never take you where you don't want to go. If you don't want to talk about a certain topic, they're not going to make you talk about it. It's not a delve into your childhood or any past traumas, which some people might think that counselling is. That's not how we do counselling here. It is completely about what the client wants to talk about. So the session will go really how you want it to go. You can talk about the topics you want to talk about. You can work on anything that you want to with the counsellors. It's flexible, but that's how the session will go. At the end, they'll help to figure out what to do next. So after your discussion, they'll end with, where do you want to go next? Some people might feel happy after one session. They might feel that they've got techniques they need to go away and to carry on, or to think about booking a session in another few weeks. There might be some signposting to other services, so we have really good knowledge about all the different services available to you guys within Guildford and within the university itself, so we can recommend reaching out to the other wellbeing and welfare services, or joining an NHS service, or a more specialist appointment with a different service. Or they might book you in for another session with them in a couple of weeks' time if that works for you. Or if you need more urgent help, then they'll liaise with our wellbeing advisor team, who you spoke to Lali earlier about.
Yeah.
But that's, in a nutshell, what a counselling appointment looks like within the Centre for Wellbeing. It's really, really client-focused. It's really flexible. And you have up to an hour with the counsellor. And then you know, we'll never just leave you to it then. We'll always see what we can do next to help you.
Yeah, brilliant.
Cool.
Thank you very much for that.
No problem at all. Hope that helps.
So, the sun is out, the weather's a bit brighter, I think we're all feeling a little bit better. Feeling better is an interesting thing. As people who work in support, we can be really good at supporting other people who come to us.
Mm-hmm.
We're famously sometimes bad at supporting ourselves. As people working in support, what do you do to look after your own well-being?
Yes, you're right, Liam. We do have to take that seriously, because we know that if we are burnt out, we're not going to be good use to any of the students. So we take our own well-being very seriously, and we have a really great habit in our team that we often go for walks around the lake. So in between phone calls or appointments, we always knock on each other's doors, see if someone is free, and we just walk around the lake. And that's how we look after ourselves, just being kind of back in nature, which is very calming in itself. It gives us a break from our screens. Plus also it brings us together as a team.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we make sure we all do every day, which is really something that makes a big difference. And because we have such lovely surroundings and we have the opportunity, so yeah, we just use what we've got, and that's, you know, right here on our doorstep. The other thing I do is I've just learned to crochet about a year ago, and I find that very helpful in terms of helping me to focus and just be mindful and kind of, you know, have a still moment. Some of my colleagues play music. My colleague Chris plays music. We all have our own way of looking after ourselves, and if we don't do that, you know, we wouldn't be able to help others. So it's a very important part of our daily practice, is to look after our own well-being.
I'm really glad you've said that, and it's good that you can sort of connect as a team to go look after each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can look at ourselves as a group of people working in support and not support each other.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you've got that as a team.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, this is a personal point myself. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of the team now, and they are people, right? You are people with your own challenges in well-being. You're still adults who might encounter difficult times, and I'm really glad that you're not above looking after your own well-being, because it's such an important thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's no difference really between myself and a student that comes and sees me. We're both just two people having a conversation, and knowing that we need each other to get through difficult times.
Yeah.
That's all it is, really. There's no requirement or assessment or diagnosis that's needed. We're just having a conversation and remind people of how amazing they are, really, because to have got this far, you know, you must have done something right. So we just remind you of that.
Oh, it's really well said. On that point of reminding people how amazing they are and being able to have those communications, it's also worth knowing that sometimes it can be really hard to have those communications and those conversations. So obviously all of this is a part of Mental Health Awareness Day, and this year the theme for Mental Health Awareness Day is mental health in an unequal world. And what we're trying to engage in here is that for some groups, for some demographics, for some people, mental health and talking about mental health and reaching out to people doesn't feel as easy as for other people. Sometimes it can feel like, because of who we are, because of where we grew up, that we might not feel like we can reach out. So the question I have for you is there anything you'd like to say to those people who feel like they can't reach out?
So, at the Centre for Wellbeing, we work with people, not problems. So every person has had problems in their lives. They might not have a problem right now, but there might be something around the corner, or you've just come through something. That doesn't define you. There's much more to you than the problem. So when you come and speak to one of us as advisors, we don't focus on the problem, because you have dealt with problems all your life, especially if you have come from a different background, like you say, underrepresented groups. That means you have worked even harder than someone who's maybe from a majority group. So that tells me you have a lot of strengths to have gotten this far. So all I need to do is to remind you of that by giving you the opportunity to think about your best hopes.
Yeah.
And that's what I guess makes us all equal, is hope. We all have hopes and dreams. And that's what we talk about, is what do you want for your future? And what changes do you want? And we can help you make those changes by reminding you how you got here in the first place. So there's really no question about, where you're from or anything that would separate you from us or from any other student. It's about human beings and hope.
I don't think we could have got a better note to end on, right? Hope. Is there anything more you'd like to say on that? Or
I would just like to say hope is always present.
yeah.
And don't ever think that you can't get through something. You can. And thank you for the opportunity, Liam.
No, it's been my absolute pleasure talking to all. Helpfully, my camera died towards the end there, so I'm going to have to re-record this part. Thank you very much to the Centre for Wellbeing for agreeing to take part in this. Thank you to Lali and Lexi for taking part in the video itself, agreeing to have this informal interview chat thing, so that students can get a really good idea of what the Centre for Wellbeing stands for. And I really hope through this video you've been able to see that the priority of the staff at the Centre for Wellbeing is exactly that, your well-being. As students, making sure that we're okay and we're supported through the tough times that we very well might run into is their top priority. I will include materials on how to reach out to the Centre for Wellbeing and how to reach out to us as the union for when you do hit those difficult times, to remind you that you can reach out and you can talk to us, and we will do everything we can to support you when you need it. Thank you very much for watching this, and take care.